We believe that God has given CityLight Community Church Linkou a vision to see all people from walks of life to be made into faithful disciples of Jesus who know, love, and follow Jesus in all of life. And we believe that disciples are made as they're committed to Jesus' word, Jesus' people, but also Jesus' mission. And as God uses our church to see those kind of disciples made, we pray that it overflows into churches that plant churches, not only in Taiwan, but all across the world. So just in Linkou, in this community, there are 90,000 people who do not know Jesus. The population is 100,000 people. So 90% of people that you see on the street never heard the gospel or are interested in Jesus. And sometimes that unbelief comes from, in Taiwan, idol worship and worship of the different kinds of gods are bound up in this family cultural value. So people really feel like in order to honor their parents and honor their family, which is a big value here in this culture, they have to worship these ancestors and these idols. Right now they say that the church, the Christian church in Taiwan, has little significance on the community, on the culture itself. They say that evangelicalism is only 2.5%. And so really a lot of people think that Christianity in this culture has no significance. So one of the major obstacles is just talking about who Jesus is, what is the gospel. And so I think one of the challenges we face as a church is really being clear about what the gospel is. One of the things you'll see in Taiwan is that they're willing to receive prayer, willing to receive blessing. So many times when we talk about Jesus, they'll say, absolutely, I'll take Jesus as one of the other gods that I already worship. And so if we as a church aren't explicit and clear on what the good news of Jesus is, we won't see faithful disciples made who know, love, and follow Jesus in all of life. I think a second obstacle to seeing disciples happen and made in Linkou is the long work week. Taiwan, they have one of the longest working weeks in all of Asia, and so you have to really be flexible and try to figure out how do you actually faithfully walk someone from believing in Jesus to being a committed follower in Jesus in all of life. And what does that mean for them to have a healthy work life, but also be involved in the local church and be a faithful husband and a faithful parent? So that's the second obstacle. And then finally, I think the most obvious obstacle is language. Taiwan wants to be bilingual by 2030, so we feel like there's a great opportunity for us to have an international bilingual church. But we love and we are committed to seeing Taiwanese and Chinese people being discipled in their mother and their heart language. And so we're praying, we're asking the Lord to help us raise up local Taiwanese who have the same vision, who want to see disciples made, and it can help us really overcome that language barrier to make disciples and see churches planted.
The church is a people, so it's not necessarily going to expand as a building, and so we want to start in communities and investing in those relationships long term in our neighborhoods, and then helping them reach their circle of influence. We want to invite them into our homes, but that might take a while to build those relationships. And so we have to look at the long-term vision and not just the short-term vision of inviting people to church. So investing in those relationships will produce fruit, but we have to have a long-term vision.
You know, Jesus promises the church that he will build his church on nothing else but the proclamation of him as Lord, the good news of the gospel. And so when we moved here, we felt like the best thing we can do for the foundation of the church is get a qualified leadership team in place who believe the gospel and trust the gospel. In our team, we have about over 50 years of ministry between all the three of our families. And you have people that have been in cross-cultural missions for a long time. And then, all of us feel this deep-seated call that God has given us a vision and a burden and desire to be here in Linkou to see the Taiwanese reached.
Yeah, as far as our team goes, we all defer to each other. We all want the best for each other. We're good friends. We just have a complementary gift mix. And so we're all for each other. And we're not one of us is trying to get all the glory. And we just want to see the church succeed. We want the kingdom to expand. But it's not all about one person, and the church is like a body and not just one specific person. And so I think that's why we're set up to succeed. We're not about the individual ambition, and then we're just good friends, so it's easy to work together. We didn't just throw this together overnight. We have a lot of the same DNA background, and we agree on all the same vision and theological distinctives, so it makes it easier to work together, and we just have fun and care about each other too. So
we have a vision to not only see a Sunday gathering happen where they can hear the gospel, but our plan is to see these missional communities that happen all across the city, where people can come into homes, they can share a meal, they can talk about faith, they can get discipled, they can be equipped, and they can be sent out. So now we don't just have a local gathering of people on a Sunday morning, but we really have a movement of disciples who are reaching their neighbors, who are going into schools, going into communities, and taking this good news of Jesus all throughout the county and all throughout the city of Linkou to see more churches planted and more disciples made.
we just want to see a movement of the gospel. We want to see like a tangible difference in like all these statistics. We keep repeating the same statistics. You know, approximately 5% Christian, 2.5% evangelical. And then you'll look at like Wikipedia will say the Christian church here has a small, insignificant impact on the culture. We want that to change, and we want the numbers to jump, but we want to see lives change more than anything, and society changed. Then also for Taiwan to become a sending nation, sending to the region and beyond. And this is one of the only ethnically Chinese areas that's never had a complete breakthrough of the gospel. And we want to see that happen in Taiwan, and we want Taiwan to become a sending nation.
If we fail and if we pack up, we all go back home. That actually happened to us about 7 years ago. The first time we were here, we ended up leaving, going back to America, and had this really good Taiwanese friend. His name was Jack. And I remember the day that I left, Jack was taking me out for coffee, and he broke down in tears. And he was so upset, he was so broken because we were leaving, and he told me that we were the only Christian family he'd ever known, and really the only representation of Jesus to him. And so for me, you guys, we are here for people like Jack, because if we leave, people like Jack, they have no way of knowing the gospel and seeing Jesus here in their community. 4 ways you can respond. Number 1 is you can pray. We need all of your prayers. Pray for our church, pray for our community, pray for our leaders, and pray for Linkou, that they would be soft to the gospel and respond to that. Number 2, give. You can give financially to what God's doing here. There's going to be a link at the end of this video you can click on and easily give to what God's doing here. Number 3, you can come for a short-term trip. Bring a family, bring your friends, come and do ministry with us, do evangelism here and see what Taiwan's all about and what it means to do ministry here. And then finally, maybe God is calling you guys to be a part of His Great Commission, and maybe you're called to move your family here. Taiwan is only 2.5% evangelical Christians, so we need more people who have the call of God to move here long term and see disciples made and churches planted.